Well, I want to debate like some character, like my character versus your character.
Sure, we could do Gojo versus Goku.
Really use Goku anymore.
Okay, you could.
God damn.
Greater
Yeah,
units and
right.
have power than you outscale. There.
I mean, like simply like scaling higher than someone.
What do you mean, like dimensionality?
It doesn't need to be dimensional. Like simply like terms of tiering system.
Yeah. So dimensionality.
Are you referring to like dimensions or?
No, whenever I'm in reference to tiering system dimensionality, for example, if a character is able to destroy a core and then another character is able to destroy a town or a building, they have a higher dimensionality encompassment of scaling. It doesn't mean the axes of dimensionality are different. It's just they have a different logical framework that they follow by. That's what I mean by that. And then you get into higher situations such as hyperverse, or outerverse, or multiverse, or complex, multi-boundless, etc. And that's whenever dimensionality encompasses of the axes or the axioms or whatever you want to call them, boundaries or whatever. I don't know what you say. I just know what I require them as. But yeah, that's whenever those actually change and everything. So you can pick a character.
I'm back. I'm probably gonna use. You know who is Fuji from Masadaverse?
Yeah, you could use them.
Or I can use Saitama if you want.
It's up to you. Just go ahead and who you use my fault, whoever you would like. I'm grabbing some scans. So whenever you pick your character, we can state premises and set up prerequisite unless you're a holist like I am. Then if not, we could just go for specific. If you need me to explain like the philosophical sense of holism, I will. It's a non-regulated system that all systems are a combination or collective of sets. Saying this, we can appeal to all systems unless there's a clear contradiction. Then we can argue upon which contradiction or contrary is supported within the scale or is better suited. So that's my position of prerequisite. If you don't want to take a prerequisite such as holism,
didn't hear you. What did you just say?
Okay, yeah. We're doing Gojo versus. Are you taking Saitama?
I'm gonna take Fuji.
Fuji. Okay.
Also, my premise is that he out hexes your character.
Okay, my premise is Gojo is just gonna obliterate him with either a fancy of hacks or a fancy of outscales. Fancy just means in the way he dictates it.
Wait, do you mean like scaling or what?
Yes. So if he fancies the way of outscaling, and then I prove he can outscale, then that intuitive action will come to consciousness, and he would outscale. But if you want me to like re-elaborate, I'll put in simplistic. I think Gojo is either A, gonna outscale, or B, outhack your character. That would be my premise. And like I was explaining earlier, for a philosophical view of prerequisite, a prerequisite is just extrapolations on rules and conditionings before you set a debate upon, right? Saying this, I'm a holism. A holism is basically saying you take collective sets of tiering systems in this instance, or collective sets of definitions such as Oxford and binary, right? We could take all those and use them as collectiveness. Saying this, if there's a clear contradiction between one tiering system and the other, and you want to appeal to this one and I want to appeal to that one, then we can argue upon which one's contrary or suited better within the debate. So if you have anything against holism, you can explain, or you can set up a prerequisite that I would agree to.
So what your premise is that like he can either like outscale or outhacks.
Mm-hmm. If so, we could just get onto the like scaling right now if you want, because I already got my scans and all. All right, Gogo, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna scale first. I guess I'll send this in Snake Way, the general. Okay, so if you look in Snake Way, basically, this scan, the very specific part I want you to look at is the bottom panel, right? All the way at the bottom. So you can
All
read
right, so I know. Wait. Are we gonna say like he can grade like negative numbers?
uh and bring them forth into reality. He can make negative numeral things such as -1 apples appear into reality, which would function on a logical framework, or he can use the other form of the scaling, saying, oh, a coexisting stage of contraries that are existing at the same time or in a disbeliefment. Saying this, it would provide the case of law of non-contradiction exploding, and that's one of the three forms or the three main laws of logic. So if you manipulate or a structure or even like just literally manifest like a very little or insignificant amount of like a main form of logic, I think it would classify you for outer. But on this contrary, Gojo's literally breaking the fucking law. Like he's not abiding by it at all. And his abilities make it to where he can manifest it and completely override it with this. So I think Gojo would be literally above the Turing system with this.
You mean like you'll do it to like Turing system being bound by logic?
I believe I believe a Turing system, yes, a Turing system is exploited by logic entirely. But in this system that I'm scaling my character higher, I'm scaling him higher than one of the main branches or main laws of study mental natures of logic itself. Saying this supports Turing systems. This even supports a debate structure. We can think of it like this: the law of non contradiction is stating that one contradiction is true and the other one cannot be true at the same time. This is because a contradiction would be clearly as a negation of the contrary to the one that would be true. They cannot coexist at the same time because there's no truth or fundamental falsehood or truthhood. Saying this, one is either true or one is not at the same at one time. If I was to say Goku beats Superman and you was to say Superman beats Goku, one of those are true. In that moment, it's 50-50, but it's not a coexisting stage because we haven't gave reason and everything. The
Yeah,
law of
either
non
one of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yes. So Gojo, in this hand, he makes -1 numerals and he gives the analogy with a apple. He makes -1 apples appear into reality. Because the whole point of the limitless is to make things fundamentally appear into reality. Saying this, he's making a numeral that is subtracted, such as a apple appear into reality and manifest it to his ways of liking. So I think Gojo would be directly above this said law due to the fact he's making something that's oppositional of binary systems because it's individually independent on its own, right? It's either non-existence or existence. Whenever you subtract something, you're making it following from a non-existent stage or you're just making it annihilate. Gojo here makes it entirely annihilate, but somehow in this -1 manifestation, a apple can still appear. So Gojo is completely illogical to the Turing system or contrary beliefs. For example, if I was to say Gojo isn't outer, or you was to say Gojo isn't like is bound by logic, and I was to say he is bound by logic, he can manifest that to his way of liking now, or he's just completely above it because that's the whole point of his ability here. He's manipulating a negatable or contrary beliefs entirely.
So that's your whole point.
Yeah, he's manipulating contraries entirely. If he can manipulate contraries, then he's just above any contrary system. Saying this, if you was to provide the case that Gojo is logical, I could provide the negation saying Gojo is illogical completely, right? And then since Gojo has this ability, which is a logical manifestation, right? My fault, I cut it out. He manipulates the contraries, and in this case, the contraries are logical and illogical, so he can be both at a coexistent stage. That's my whole scale.
All right. So in this scan I just sent, I can just use the fact that Fuji can do that too.
Sorry, what?
I'm just trying to say that Fuji can defy logic too.
Okay, let me see this. I only had one option left, ignoring all reason and common sense. Okay, this is just 4D
How is that 4D?
because it's ignoring common sense. On a commonsensical level, you go to a three-dimensional tier because that's an encompassment of framework.
No. Entire Turing system is made by our common sense, aka logic.
Yes, it's not made by common sense. If I go up to a random fucking child and ask them, "Oh, do you know what the versus battle wiki tiering system?" or if I was to ask, or are you good and
Wait,
bad, or if I was,
did you say anything right now?
huh?
I don't think we could. Anyone here could hear you.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll repeat it. So basically, a common sense thing wouldn't be the tyranny as X for elaboration, and they probably can't explain this. Therefore, it isn't a commonsensical, right? But a commonsensical thing would be such as, oh, if there was a frying pan and there was eggs cooking, a common sense thing to do would be not to fucking put your hand on the frying pan because it's boiling hot or it's just hot as fuck. That's common sense. So I'm saying in a commonsensical level, he's 4D on this because the Turing system isn't common sense.
So are you saying that thinking system isn't common sense because
Maybe us
if you go
debaters
to up
is.
to random, wait, I didn't finish my point. Wait. Are you saying that if you go to like up to like random child and she's like they say that like they don't know what's thinking system, so it isn't common sense?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
No, no. Like entire thinking system is made of logic or common sense. I'm not saying that thinking system itself
Logic,
is
logic isn't always common sense. I hope you know.
what?
Logic isn't always common sense. You're saying that he's defying, ignoring all reason and common sense. Okay. So I answer the following saying, okay, common sense defiance in this contrary, in this context, as elaborating on explicit information, and afterwards it gives the correlation to common sense. It's only 4D. You're saying, right? You haven't even negated the point of the analogy I brought forth, saying, oh, if I was to go ask a child if they are aware of the versus better wiki turing system, and they would obviously not be. I think you would agree that a child, a literal child, wouldn't be aware of a versus better wiki turing system, right? Saying this, it's not a commonsensical thing. And then I gave the other analogy saying, oh, but if there's a burning hot pan on the stove, right, and I'm cooking some eggs, I'm scrambling me some fucking eggs, right? A very common sense thing to not do would be not to touch the fucking fire underneath the stove to burn your hands. And even if you did, you have a common sense of intuitive actions or impulsive actions to move your hand quick enough where it doesn't actually get, like, I guess, burned off. That's a common sense analogy. What he's doing here is literally 4D to a commonsensical. So he's not even defying any really good logic here. He's defying like what? Fire? And the analogy I gave it was support fire, Manette, by the way, because if he is defying common sense, he's defying impulsive reactions. That's a commonsensical framework, but he's not defying one of the main three laws or even any branches of laws. He's probably defying like a stem or a root, maybe, but he's not defying anything big, so I don't really scale him anywhere. Yo, can Vortex Draco? Can y'all hear me?
I hear you.
All right. Okay. I think it's kind of funny how. Oh, he left. Okay, whatever. I think it's kind of funny how this nigga's whole thing was gonna be debunking Gojo's like being above the tiering with this set specific scale that he's obviously knowledgeable about because he knew what I was coming from. His whole argument was gonna be debunking in no way this dumbass nigga thinks that. And then I just slammed the fuck out of him on it. And now he can't even get this nigga to 4D correctly. Oh my god. This nigga's dumb as fuck. I'm about to just like literally rap my ass off right here. I'm gonna say if he joins back, I'm just gonna say, okay, since this nigga Ren Fuji is appeared as a overseer perspective to be an individual, I don't think he can non-abide to one of the main threes of logic because all the logics are correlated in some formula. So therefore he has identity. I can overseer identity. And if he goes back saying, oh, well, Gojo has identity, that doesn't matter because we already accumulate the As in like what? As in we can like label him?
Unless like if he's bound by law of identity.
Like yeah, the law of identity states that one thing, right? Such as an apple is a apple because it's an apple. The functionalism or the normalism of a apple is like that, therefore it's a apple. That's like basically what the law of identity states and everything. But I'm saying if Gojo has an identity in the formula, oh yeah, we
And I beat him.
it's not good. None of these niggas are good. It really just states like each thing is identical to itself. So Gojo's shown consistently that he's not always identical to himself. I don't. Also, it's like a kind of vague explanation of like itself. Like, does he mean like his intuitive act? Functionalism, his normalism, because if that's the case, then yes, Gojo has shown consistently that he's not always into those actions, which would mean a state of non-identicalness, I guess you could say. But that's also like literally just other like very, very, very basic shit. Like I can say I'm illogical from because I'm not always identical to myself. I get mad sometimes. I get happy, like, but that's also a dumb.
It's like law of identity doesn't really scale
Believe this
anywhere.
guy's gonna like. I don't believe this guy's gonna like debunk it at all.
Wait,
so
wait, law of identity doesn't really scale anywhere, right?
None of the laws really scaling anywhere.
How about the law of non-contradiction? Oh, so you're cutting out.
If you try to appeal to it, like whenever I literally propose saying, "Oh, you can hear me now,"
Hold on. You're cutting out. Stop talking. Yeah, you're like I don't hear you right now. Your mic is cutting out, bro.
all right,
I can hear you now.
recording me bitching this nigga. All right, fine. I'll quickly explain. So I was on the point of the laws of logic scaling or not scaling. Yeah, none of the all like obviously, you know what an overseer's perspective is, right?
Not really.
Okay, an overseer perspective would be somebody that has a superiority. For example, if you was looking in a manga, you would be an overseer perspective of what is happening, correct? Due to the fact that you're looking at it and you're overseeing and you're observing every detail that's going on. I wouldn't say every, you're just observing it, you know?
Yeah.
And you're gonna oversteer to that manga because you're obviously above it. So if you another analogy would be such as in a court, a judge has a overseer perspective. He hears them and he announces or denounces that if they are guilty or not guilty. That would be another overseer perspective because they have the authority to do something or the authority to act upon. Saying this, apply it. Whenever I just apply it,